This is episode 238 of Mitolife Radio. I'm your host, Matt Blackburn, and today I'm interviewing Adam Marafioti of Lifeblud once again. He is the founder of that supplement company that actually has a lot of similar or overlapping products to Mitolife, but he is based up north in Canada, and he does have some different products such as progesterone, a vitamin B complex product called Energy, which I love, medicinal mushroom tinctures, and then his latest products are isolated amino acids, which I'm a huge fan of. So he came out with pure taurine, theanine, and then the third product is a combo of tyrosine and phenylanine. So in this interview, he shares his philosophy about amino acids, goes into the difference between essential amino acids, branch chain amino acids. I ask him his thoughts on master amino pattern, which is a very specific ratio of essential amino acids. And then he dives into all of the specific benefits of theanine, taurine, and then that tyrosine phenylalanine combination called Tyrosine. Coming from a vegan and vegetarian background, I really underestimated the power of amino acids. And even if someone's eating high quality animal products, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're getting sufficient amounts of these amino acids, especially taurine. It's an incredibly powerful amino acid to rebuild the system. He shares a study that he did with diabetic rats where they used the human equivalent of 4 grams a day, and they saw about a 25% increase in testosterone with that dosage. I think for people with symptoms of psychological stress, anxiety, depression, anything like that, amino acids are highly underrated for their effects on mind and emotions. So enjoy the show. Here is Adam Marafioti. Adam Marafioti, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me back, Matt.
Yeah, this is round 2. I lost track of the last time I had you on. I think we were talking about the blue stuff. I think it's okay to say it now, methylene blue.
Yeah, it's crazy that you were actually one of the first people that put me on a podcast, and you kind of just like, picked me up out of the ditches of Instagram. And yeah, it was January 1st, 2022. It's not that long, just about a year after I started Lifeblud. And methylene blue at the time was not that popular, to be honest. I think after we did that podcast, it just from there, everything kind of skyrocketed, and methylene blue went crazy. And it's been a wild ride, but yeah, you were one of the first people to kind of put me on and take a chance hearing me speak. So I appreciate that.
Well, yeah, I appreciate your work, and I've learned a lot from you. And that's kind of my perspective as a podcast host, is we could all learn from each other, even if we have differing philosophies or perspectives or experiences. And that's one of the things I think that is not popular right now in the health community. There's just people battling all the time and looking to pick fights because they have a different belief system or different experience. And I think the latest thing is on methylene blue. I don't know if you've seen people calling it toxic, and then same thing with Shilajit, like it's Nephilim blood or something crazy.
Wow. Yeah, it seems like, yeah, people are always looking to create an angle or create some sort of a division or a way to sort of set themselves above of others. And, that's through demonizing a product, a vitamin, whether it's plain water or eating cooked food or there's always something. And I think we've been around the different health communities for so long now that we've kind of seen all these behavior patterns like over and over and over again, like starting back from the raw vegan world, which, they had the similar patterns, right? Talking about cooked food but I'd rather just kind of learn from people. Like we talk about Dan McDonald all the time, the Life Regenerator. And, we may not agree with his diet and stuff, but I still learned a ton from him. And I think we would do way better just appreciating each other, the value we can get from each other. And that's what I do. So like, I still look at him as someone who I respect and I can learn from it even today, even not disagreeing in his whole dietary perspective. I still could learn from the guy. And I think that's what we should do. You and I probably don't see together eye to eye on everything, but we can still learn from each other. And there's so much more value in that than you hearing me say one sentence or me hearing you say one sentence that neither of us agree with, and then say, all right, screw that guy, throw the rest of his work out in the trash. So that's a great perspective to have.
Yeah, it becomes the echo chamber, and that's the most common thing now in our health community. So yeah, it's good you brought that up, the raw vegan thing, 'cause we both did that for several years. I was hardcore 100% for, it was like, I think 3 to 6 months, and then about 80% raw for 3 to 4 years. And I learned a lot about that experience, and it kind of connects with our topic today with amino acids, because I was never one of those puritanical kind of like fruitarian people. I was always interested in dabbling in herbalism, Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, isolated supplements. And through being vegan for so long and plant-based for like most of my life, better half of like 3 decades, I learned about the importance of amino acids. And when we were vegan, you probably remember the most common question was, where do you get your protein? And I'd kind of scoff at that, as I'm sure you did. It's like, oh, bananas have protein, or everything has protein, everything has amino acids. And that's true, but the structure is different, right, from muscle meat. And
yeah, the structure, the amounts, all the different profiles. So yeah, there's one thing about, you can get a couple of milligrams maybe of amino acids in your diet with plants and stuff, but it's nowhere near what you're going to be getting from animals, and you're going to be missing some like taurine. And I guess I could, I'll definitely touch on all that in later on.
Yeah, I discovered the master amino pattern, and I think it was an MLM that was marking that up like 100%, and then I found their source, and then now there's a couple companies selling like the tablets, which there's so much nuance here, which I love about amino acid supplementation. Is there's the master amino pattern, which is different from essential amino acids, which are different from BCAAs. So there's like all these different categories, right?
Yeah.
And I tried them all, and I was actually using the MAP. So these are like a specific ratio of essential amino acids of those 8 for several years, is pretty much my primary protein source. So I just have it like throughout the day, and I just pop like 10 at a time, like every 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah. It's, that's definitely one strategy, and I don't know that it is sustainable or not, but it definitely helps to get them from food primarily. And then also for me, obviously, I'm seeing that supplementing certain ones in therapeutic doses are just having incredible results, especially with, the few that we'll go into. But yeah, the amino acids with the essentials and the non-essentials, there's kind of like seems to be not fully agreed upon whether it's 10 essentials or is it 11 or is it 8. But there are 20 amino acids that make up all the protein in the human body. And, I'm not going to argue which are essential or not, but it's basically 10 are essential and 10 are non-essential, as it's said. And the 10 essential ones are histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, theanine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. And then the non-essential ones are alanine, asparagine, aspartic acid, cysteine, glutamic acid, glutamine, glycine, proline, serine, and tyrosine. And basically, well, the definition there is just that the non-essential ones are what humans can synthesize through other enzymes. And they're synthesized from the essential amino acids. So it's basically, we have to consume the essential ones in order to make the non-essential ones. So they're only it's conditional in the way that it's non-essential. It's, if you're consuming an adequate amount of the essential ones, then you could argue that they're non-essential. But if you're not, then you don't have enough amino acid pool to make the non-essential amino acids, then, you may as well call them essential, or there's a sort of a conditional component there. So it's a bit of a interesting definition, and it's not the same as like a vitamin E. Like humans aren't making vitamin E, right? So there's a bit of a difference there, and I think it's important to know that. And like plants have all the enzymes to create any amino acid, but humans don't have that. So we can only make basically the 10 amino acids from the essential ones.
That's a great point. Yeah, and I liked in your article, What Are Amino Acids and Why Supplement Them, you put in bold, just because one of the essential amino acids can be made by your body does not mean it is being made. Or one of the non-essentials.
Yeah.
One question I had when you were talking about that was, have you looked into like genetic mutations that could inhibit someone's ability to convert or to make non-essential amino acids?
No, I haven't, but I think basically what those are getting at is that there are certain enzymes that can be not functioning, because I think what their endpoint is, they're seeing an enzyme not work. And they're saying, they're attributing it to a genetic mutation, which I have no opinion on one way or another. But basically, if an enzyme is not working for whatever reason, maybe there's a deficiency, maybe there's a dysfunction there, who knows what it's caused by. If the enzyme's not working, that, let's say the enzyme that converts tyrosine from phenylalanine, then you're not going to be making tyrosine. And then if you're not making tyrosine, then you have conversion to L-DOPA issues, and then you have basically dopamine issues. And so these types of nuances, if we can figure them out, they would be helpful to figure out, and that would help like, hey, maybe I could really benefit from some tyrosine supplementation because this enzyme that makes it from phenylalanine is not working. And I could support myself there, while maybe I work on my health and try to reverse that issue.
Yeah. My friend David swears by supplementing tyrosine to get off of coffee or take breaks from coffee. So whenever he would normally have his coffee, he would just take a bunch of tyrosine, and a bunch meaning, I don't know, I think 3 to 5 grams or something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
To kind of substitute that dopamine hit.
Yeah, exactly. There's probably, an increase in dopamine that comes from the caffeine and maybe just the act and stuff of having coffee. And so he's essentially, pushing some dopamine conversion through supplementation. And I like to add phenylalanine in there as well, because, it's just, they both go down the same pathway, but it seems to just be helpful to add phenylalanine in there to facilitate more conversion of tyrosine. And it also helps to have light, like natural light, when you're supplementing tyrosine. There was a study I read where they had it was mice or rats, and they had them basically in a dark room, and they supplemented them with tyrosine, and they didn't witness basically any dopamine conversion with the tyrosine. And then when they had them in natural light setting, it was working as it should. So light is an important component there.
I believe it's ultraviolet light is the main frequency, right? Like I made a YouTube video when I was in my RV days, like Dan McDonald's RV days. I had mine.
Yeah.
I made like a 30-minute video on tyrosine combined with sunlight. But I thought it was the UV, because I think tyrosine is like an aromatic amino acid, it's called, like phenylanine. So it can, ultraviolet's kind of like the main frequency that stimulates that conversion.
Yeah.
That's a great point you bring up.
Yeah, it's not red. It's not red. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the aromatic amino acids are phenylalanine, tyrosine, and tryptophan.
And so all three of those benefit from not being a vampire inside year round in an office.
Yeah, it seems to be like they have a correspondence with light, because I mean, that concept of serotonin, the conversion to melatonin being blocked by blue light at night. So the tyrosine and phenylalanine seem to have that sort of like a daytime sunlight exposure, what facilitates their function. And then with tryptophan to serotonin to melatonin, it seems to be that actually experiencing darkness or lack of light at the right time is what, facilitates that whole process.
That's a great point. Yeah, I never thought of it like that. That's a good way to describe it. I think this is really important information because I think people are more anxious, depressed, and stressed than ever, especially the last 3 years, just with the divide and conquer tactics that are on overdrive and working. People just aren't mentally and emotionally stable or healthy. And so what I love about what you're doing, not just the amino acids, but just your supplement line, like mine, the focus, a lot of it is isolates, like just instead of putting the whole kitchen sink and just sprinkling in fairy dusting, as it's called, like, 10 milligrams of B3 or whatever. It's like, no, give a sufficient dose that actually makes a difference. And that's what you're doing with your amino acid products. Like I had someone, I think, ask, like, what makes this L-theanine different, or one of your amino acids? Like, I could buy that anywhere. But I just think the education around it alone is priceless. That's kind of what I offer with Mitolife. And also, I mean, it's just a gelatin capsule, no binders or fillers, because I'll go out, the supplement store, and I want to experiment with an isolate supplement. And 90% of the time, there's some type of filler, whatever it is, yeast or rice flour, or just stuff that I don't necessarily need.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if that person wants to go and find a lower quality product, then go right ahead, I would say. But what we're doing is we're kind of on the ground with everyone else. Like we're sort of on the ground advancing our own health. We're on the ground looking for the best products. We're on the ground trying to find, the most purity. We understand, environmental toxins and pollutants and stuff. And so we're navigating that too with everyone else. And I think our companies are sort of like, we're here to like be with our customers as we navigate through the toxicity and find better products and find, cleaner supplements and more pure and higher quality stuff. And so, yeah, you can go get the same ingredient on a label maybe, but ultimately it's not the same product. It hasn't been formulated with the same care and attention to detail and stuff. And I think that's the real value with us, along with the education.
Even the bottles, we don't recycle here in Idaho, at least North Idaho. it goes in the trash. It's just the way up here. And I've heard, the recycling trucks just dump it in the trash anyway. But what makes me feel better about supporting you is the better bottle, which I introduced you to, which is, I think you can't legally call it biodegradable for some reason, but it does break down.
Yeah.
And I go through a lot of supplement bottles. So I'm working on transitioning every Mitolife product I already invested like $500,000 or whatever into the bottles. They're expensive, but it's worth it.
Yeah, totally. It's good to know that, at least it may not be the absolute best option right now, but it's the one that's most feasible. And it's good to know that they won't be around forever. So we're not as much contributing to the pollution, which is real. And then, obviously the agendas around that whole thing are not real, but the, pollution is a real issue in plastic, and obviously we want to not be contributing as much as possible.
It's funny, Adam. So I was just down in SoCal, and that's where I grew up, like first 30 years of my life. And I'd say every, like 1 out of 5 cars was a Tesla, and maybe like roughly 30 to 40% of cars were electric. But the air quality was way worse than up here, where it's 90% diesel and gas. Or probably even more, 1% electric up here.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, maybe it's all the trees and the water. I don't know, but I think their solution to air pollution is there's something better than electric cars. I mean, it's not good for the grid, that's for sure, especially in hot climates.
Yeah, until we can, not get assassinated for making like water-based hydrogen cars, then we'll see. We'll still be on diesel until then.
Yeah, the other day I was watching a YouTube video on, and we're going a little off topic, that's fine, on wood gasifiers. So I'm super prepper minded, and I guess they were using these in like World War I because they ran out of fuel. Yeah, and you're basically just making natural gas from burning wood, and it looks super dangerous because there's like pressure involved and fire, and but there's basic plans where you can make that. So yeah, we have solutions.
Interesting that, they, in nature, there's sort of everything works. Like there's a solution for everything. And kind of, everything that we need is here for us. We just have to figure out how to use it and harness it, and then, keep it within the cycle of life, and sort of everything kind of flows from there. And that can be our segment back into amino acids.
But I want to do this too, to segment back into it. What's your relationship to caffeine and coffee lately or presently? Because you got me on the La Marzocco, the Italian-made espresso machine, and I'll still make it for people that are working here on the property. I'll make them espresso shots, and you also recommended an awesome grinder. So I have the full setup. I even have a little home roaster from Ikawa. So really have it dialed. And occasionally I'll have a couple espresso shots and I'm back on maple syrup, just intermittently. But I think your products, especially like the theanine and just amino acids in general, can really help people if they're feeling negative effects to their central nervous system, or maybe getting anxiety effects from coffee and caffeine. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, it seems to be, especially with the theanine. So theanine's in an amino acid that's in green tea originally, and it helps to balance out the effect of caffeine when, if someone is feeling like overstimulated by it. And I think it's through basically the GABA glutamate system. And so theanine and taurine does this as well, actually. So it may be helpful also, but theanine basically supports the effects of GABA, and it can suppress serotonin in the brain. And so I think that's why it's kind of known as this sort of like calming, sort of mood elevating. It's like a focus, but it gives you like a calm, attentive focus. It's not a stimulant. It's more like something to keep you level. And it does have that sort of therapeutic value on focus and relaxation and stuff. And I think it's through basically the stimulation of GABA and the suppression of brain serotonin. And basically the GABA system will also restrain the production of cortisol. So you're pushing your physiology towards relaxation and more stability, as opposed to like stimulation and, sympathetic.
Nice. Are you hitting the espresso these days, or?
I am, yeah. I'm not sensitive to caffeine, and I haven't really been almost ever. I've been drinking espresso since I was like 16. I used to, even when I was 16, I was doing like 3 a day.
Wow.
Yeah, but I only have maybe 1 a day now, usually, sometimes 2. And I find the later, I've been like just waiting until after lunch to do it. One, not to ever kind of be in that habit where, you'll see these people where it's just like they wake up and the first thing, they're just like a wolf, like, give me the coffee, right? I don't ever want to be that way. And the other thing is, I only took a break from caffeine when I think it was in the vegan days, basically when I was like, superfoods, vegan salad kind of guy. And I didn't really have an issue with it. And then I just got back into coffee because I started enjoying specialty coffee. My next door neighbor would start roasting me these like crazy, high-end coffees, and I had started tasting flavors and stuff that I had never had before. And it became more about enjoyment and about kind of like a ceremony or like a celebration of an amazing plant, great flavors and stuff. Similar to cacao, like, it's fermented, processed, and prepared in a very certain way. And it is enjoyed with intention. And I think when it's enjoyed with intention and you put a lot into it, and you're not just doing it for that, you just parasitically need the energy from it so bad. It's like, I think enjoying coffee to me is a part of the enjoyment of life. And, everyone is like, yeah, you're just an addict saying that and justifying it. But no, I really do think that. And it does have its benefits. And just like anything, it has its drawbacks if you don't use it properly. So, have that balanced mentality, and also know where you're at with caffeine, right? Like, you're a good example. If you are thinking you're more sensitive to it or whatever, and you're like, okay, I'm going to take a break. And people that can't regulate themselves maybe need to be a little more extreme than someone like me, where, I have a lot of discipline and I can regulate myself, no problem. But if someone just couldn't stay away from coffee, and if just allowing themselves to be in that zone was, just making them turn into an addict or someone relying on it, then I would say, yeah, you probably need to take a break.
Yeah, recently someone told me that phosphatidylserine, which I included in my new brain supplement, helped them a lot to be able to handle coffee. Like if they take 300 milligrams, they don't feel any deleterious effects from caffeine, like jitters and stuff. And I've also heard like reishi, I think there's like that King Coffee brand that's trendy. And then like ginkgo, which I have in my supplement, that lowers cortisol. Hoshu Wu, I take shots of that tincture usually every day, which is
amazing.
Like a good like Jing builder and kind of kidney supporter, which just really counteracts the stimulation of caffeine. And then L-theanine. I mean, you could take all those, and I believe someone like myself that's a slow metabolizer, that has, if you believe in gene mutations, the COMT stuff and all that, I think they could still do it, especially if they time it right. And like you said, maybe after lunch and just 1 or 2 shots, don't go crazy.
Yeah. And it's just about knowing, like, not everything has to be for you, right? It's like, people don't need to feel that FOMO. Like if you can't drink coffee or whatever, it's okay. And if you can, that's great. But yeah, not everything has to apply to everyone. And it's just about people have to find their own, listen to their body and find their own intuition, and then operate within that intuition and sort of learn how to self-regulate. I think that's super important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I enjoy the taste of it. And I think especially the people that do have iron issues, like they tend to be overloaded for whatever reason. I think coffee is a good idea to consume often. What are your thoughts on megadosing? Because when I got your supplements, the theanine, the tyrosine, and phenylanine, and the taurine, kind of just took 4 to 5 of each, because I just like to see when I get something new, I want to kind of feel it.
Yeah.
And so I think the taurine, maybe it was in my head, but I'm pretty sure I felt that one the most. So I would take them like individually too, not just all of them at once. I could say the taurine is probably my favorite at the moment.
Yeah, taurine is it's just incredible. I mean, the amount of amazing results and studies and research behind taurine is so cool. I mean, they're all great, but there's just so much behind taurine. Like there's so much content and so much to go off of. But it's important to know, like, to your question. So especially in animal studies, they give animals massive doses for their body weights. They give animals massive doses of, what vitamins and amino acids and stuff. But I was reading a study just before this about rats, and they had, in diabetic rats, they were using the human equivalent of about 4 grams of taurine a day, and they saw 180% increase in testosterone in the diabetic male rats. And in the non-diabetic rats who had low testosterone as well, also saw 25% increase. So that's super significant. And 3 to 4 grams, when you're looking at a supplement label and you see the bottle and maybe the serving size says 1 and the capsules are big, and there's 4 grams might seem like a lot to you, but that's a relative term, right? And so, it could be a mega dose or it could just be a dose, right? And it's kind of a relative term, and I think there's a lot of like optics and perspective around there that people just need to either wrap their head around or they won't. And for me, I like to just look at, especially with taking supplements, that like they're used therapeutically, right? And so you get a therapeutic dose and a therapeutic response. And I think that's really significant. It's significant to sort of understand yourself. And that's what I see in every study. It's usually multiple grams in human equivalent. And that's what it achieves, like awesome results. So I'm a big fan of that. And it's not to say that you need to be taking 4 or 5 grams of taurine for the rest of your life. It's more that you can achieve a therapeutic response by cycling large doses of it. And then maybe you can cycle off or do whatever you want. But it's kind of like understanding it through that lens, I think, is really helpful.
How much are you currently taking of taurine?
Taurine, I had taken 2 grams today, and I'll probably take another gram, and I'm also taking Tudka. So they're, I'm dialed down by like 1 gram. I do 5 often, but I'm taking Tudka as well. So, and I like to cycle that one in. But we can get into that with the liver stuff. So yeah, like the whole thing about taurine is so interesting because taurine is found in almost every cell and tissue in the human body, and it's especially concentrated in highly metabolic tissues like heart, brain, eyes, liver, muscle. And to me, that says it's also 60% of our free amino acid pool. So It's concentrated in highly metabolic tissue. It's most of our free amino acid pool. And so to me, that says that taurine is like a very innate and important part of our entire physical structure. And I've been introducing the amino acid line, quoting Ray Peat, who, back to my point earlier, people have their criticism of him, and I was getting comments on my posts like, "Oh, why are you quoting a guy who didn't live to 120?" And you can have that criticism, but he also probably had a way more impactful life than a lot of these people in the comments section will have in like 10 lives. But so that could be something about energy there. But anyways, one of his main sort of concepts that he brought out to us was the concept of energy and structure being independent. And this is, it's fascinating to me because his point was basically that, or what he was getting at was that energy creates structure and structure creates energy. And he couldn't separate the two, and it was that there was this cycle going on between the two of them. So then when we're able to produce energy, we create more structure, and structure itself is what helps us create more energy. So taurine being obviously a massive part of our structure, right? Because we're made of water, we're made of minerals, we're made of proteins, fats, and in the proteins there, a lot of that seems to be taurine, or a significant component of that is taurine. So when you increase our, or when you add in the things that create structure, you also help with the whole energy system. And that's how I've kind of been trying to see the importance of taurine and what, why is there so many benefits from it? Why is it so widespread in its use? Why is there so much research showing benefits? Because all these studies they'll observe an effect, but they're not always pointing at, why the effect is happening. Like, why is the benefit happening? So I'm trying to sort of put together all these different concepts from people that we've learned from pioneers and sort of re-understanding biology and stuff. And I'm trying to put that together in a way that ties in sort of this conventional scientific study world, or observational world, where you're seeing basic sort of like supplementations and effects. So I'm just trying to sort of explain all that. That's been fun for me and fascinating, and I hope it's valuable.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And what I learned when you came out with the supplement, I had no idea that taurine enhances your redox balance and NAD plus levels. Because I've been diving into like ascorbic acid supporting that system, and that seems pretty foundational, like just vitamin C. But this seems like another huge foundational thing. I mean, 60%, like you said, of our free amino acid pool, and so concentrated in our tissues.
Yeah, exactly.
That's another piece of the puzzle for me. So
yeah, it's huge, and it just goes back to that thing. It's like providing the structure, and then obviously vitamins are the essential components of our function, of our flow. So you have the structure aspect, and then obviously we don't just sort of operate on our own. We can't just stand still and breathe all day. We need to communicate and interact with our environment. That's where vitamins come in, because that's like us taking in things from the environment, taking in food, and obviously when we have a highly unnatural environment, then it increases our need for more therapeutic things like supplementing vitamin C or supplementing certain minerals and amino acids and stuff, or at least that's why they're helpful in reversing some of the issues we have. But another issue that I love to talk about, or not issue, but another perspective that I love to talk about with taurine is that, I talk about its benefits from, I call it the liver perspective. So taurine in the liver is conjugated with cholesterol and cholic acid to make bile salts. and bile salts are what help us digest fat, assimilate fat-soluble vitamins, and act as a detergent in the intestines, and also as an important vehicle for liver detox. So basically, the liver will form bile with amino acids and store it in the gallbladder. And every time you eat fat-containing foods, your body digests the food with HCl in your stomach, and then the highly acidic mixture gets moved down into your duodenum, into your intestine, and then the bile gets secreted from the gallbladder. And like mixing vinegar with baking soda, because bile is highly alkaline, you get this sort of sizzling volcanic effect, which is actually what is breaking down all the food and all the fat further. And that's how you will digest and assimilate all the vitamins, and especially the fat solubles. So it will help you get more out of your fat solubles, like when you're taking K and E and stuff and vitamin A. Just having that abundance of bile flow and bile salt availability and flow will really help you get more out of your vitamins. And addressing the liver is really, I've seen that firsthand. I feel I get more out of everything I take, and I'm seeing a greater effect with everything. And sort of, it just helps you really upgrade your health that way, increasing the bioavailability of your food and supplements, basically.
I wonder if you just solved the vegan dental issues. So there's those like vegan deterioration videos where it shows their teeth rotting out of their mouths over time, and basically their just structure deteriorating. So they're probably not getting any taurine, or definitely not getting any taurine,
No, there's none.
and no fat soluble vitamins. So it's a double whammy there.
And minimal glycine as well, which is the other amino acid that gets conjugated into bile salts.
Wow.
But taurine is sort of the main one, or the more important one, slightly more important. But yeah, exactly. And taurine, it's a very important component in breast milk. And I just read a study saying that basically you could see in vegetarian mothers that there was a significant decrease in the taurine, and even in the breast milk. So that is a huge, it's a huge downside of vegetarianism. Obviously, is that decrease in your taurine intake and availability.
Maybe they just need to drink more Red Bulls. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they need wings.
I wonder how many milligrams are in Red Bull. Have you ever looked that up, taurine?
No, I haven't. Actually,
it's probably not a good amount. Maybe I would guess 100 or 200 milligrams, something like that.
Yeah, but that's definitely where they get the whole wings and the bull thing, and it all comes from taurine, right?
Yeah, when I worked at Blockbuster, my choice was the I think it was it Monster Java or something like that, but most of those energy drinks, they put taurine in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think it also does help balance out the caffeine. It's kind of similar to theanine in that way. It really has, because it does do the GABA stimulation as well. And so it helps basically calm down that crazy caffeine rush.
Wow. So you've been going deep into liver health. I think I saw your posts starting, I don't know, a year or so ago, when you were starting to do the liver flushes.
Yep.
And I'm sure you got a lot of flack for that. So people are like, that's overkill. You're going overboard with detoxing and stuff. And
100%. Yeah.
I think one of the main criticisms is it's just the olive oil, right, that's coming out of you, those stones, that they're not actually coming out of your body. You're creating them from the mixture that you're ingesting.
Yeah, I got a lot of that. And, I never gave it the time of day gladly. And I've done 9, and I've really seen my health improve, especially after like sort of the last 4 or 5. It can be a roller coaster for sure, because you're moving some seriously toxic matter out of you. And any form of like significant detox can obviously cause symptoms. But after the last 4 or 5, I just started basically reaching new levels, like, slightly upgrading my vitality after each one, and noticing just better energy, better weight and regulation of my physique. Just more appetite, more sort of like performance overall day to day, and more out of my supplements, which is so cool. So I'm a massive fan of liver flushing, and the olive oil and lemon juice thing. I mean, I don't even know if I should bother. I know people that pass stones just during the prep, so they haven't even they haven't had any of the olive oil yet. They're just doing the prep with malic acid and herbs and stuff, and some people do pass stones just doing that. The other thing is that I know people that have basically changed their entire lives, like chronically ill forever. People that couldn't tolerate any fat whatsoever, and now they're eating fat. They had serious chronic illnesses, and after a long series of flushes, they're doing way better. And so, the average person their liver just gets destroyed from birth. I mean, from day one, even before birth, they're just getting inundated with toxins because most people just don't know any better, and they're just consuming industrial everything. They get medications, antibiotics, you name it, their whole lives, right? And the liver just sort of tries to protect you by creating these basically formations of bile and stuff, not to move them all over your body and constantly have you detoxing. They store them, right? And put them away from your daily physical function. And toxins get stored in bile as well. So that's why I always talk about bile flow to help you detox, because the liver will put toxins in bile and you can push them out through that way. And the other thing is, people say, oh, I don't have any gallstones because I got an ultrasound and the doctor said I don't have any. And the ultrasound only detects the ones that are seriously calcified. So they can just be, bile stones or cholesterol stones that are stuck in your gallbladder. And those won't show up on an ultrasound. But you could be full of those, and you could, maybe you're getting sick taking a bit of vitamin E because your liver is not pushing out any bile to basically assimilate or absorb it. And then it's just basically irritating your intestine. So there's a big component there of everything that we consume and take in and the bile. So I'm really trying to push that and trying to help people understand it, because it's something you can do while you're doing everything else. Like, it can work parallel with taking, good supplements and upgrading your diet and eating real whole foods and reducing the environmental pollutants that you're exposed to. Like, you can do all that and work on your liver health and do some flushes, or just take some Tutka, some Taurine, do a few coffee enemas here and there, castor oil packs. Like, everyone's like, oh, what can I do if I don't flush? So yeah, try that. Try digestive bitters. There's certain herbs, gold coin grass, other bitters, artichoke, dandelion. So all those things can be used as well if you can't be doing flushes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you is, how does that compare to coffee enemas or ozone insufflations? Charles got me into, and I did a round pretty heavy for several months and then took a break. But the ozone gas was pretty powerful. Definitely felt the liver hit from that. I mean, it was like a euphoria the first several months of doing those.
Yeah, I think that can be really helpful in cleaning out poisons, basically, that may be in the body or being secreted and slowly detoxed. I think that can be really helpful. But my next sort of my next most important thing to liver flushing would be probably TUDCA, which is taurine conjugated bile salt. And I'm actually going to be releasing one with Lifeblud soon with a bit of ox bile in it. And so that can really help because it's a preformed bile salt. You know, taking taurine helps too, but with taurine, you're consuming substrate versus the whole preformed bile salt. So you're taking in the finished product, which is going to go directly into its job as a bile salt, versus taking taurine is going to do everything. You know, you're letting the body decide exactly where it's going to put all the taurine that you consume. And then coffee enemas as well definitely help to stimulate bile flow. And I don't exactly see them as they're good, you know, as an intestinal cleanse, but they do help stimulate bile flow, which I think is the most important part of coffee enemas.
Did you ever do the colon hydrotherapy?
I did, yeah. I'm not as much a fan of it as coffee enemas. It's a little more intense, and I don't know. Yeah, I just don't. I didn't even feel the same benefits. It's quite intense.
Yeah, I think it was near the start of my health journey, maybe the first couple of years, and so I felt incredible clarity after I walked out of that room.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I'd get the same effect now. So.
Yeah, if you want to try an intestinal cleanse, then I recommend the Zen Cleanse 1 kit, and that is by far the most insane intestinal cleanse I've ever done. So obviously you remember back in the DTM days, the raw vegan days, the talk about mucoid plaque. So this was the first time I've actually seen it in the flesh leave me, was with using this kit. And it was like I had 3 alien babies. It was truly insane. Like I couldn't believe it. And definitely felt an increase in my digestion after, and assimilation of food. And I thought it was, you know, I kind of bought it with skepticism. I was like, okay, maybe it's just going to be the ingredients, just kind of the same way with the liver flush. It's like, maybe it's just the ingredients that are going to pass through and leave me. And I saw when the ingredients were leaving me, and then I saw after, which was the result of this insane plaque, like at least 5 pounds. It was honestly so significant. And I'm like almost speechless after it. But if you wanted to do an intense intestinal cleanse, and it's not even that hard actually to do, it's easier than a liver flush. But the results are intense. So yeah, I recommend that if you're feeling spicy one day.
Yeah, I'm looking at the ingredients. Most of them are basic. Like the first.
Yeah, it's like enzymes.
Pineapple, papaya. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think there's like a proprietary enzyme blend in there that does a lot of the work, and then psyllium husk fiber that acts as the kind of the broom, the sweeper.
Wow. Yeah. I did the what was it? Shen Blossom 7C flush. That was intense. That was waking up at 1 or 2 a.m. every night for a week, going like Dumb and Dumber style onto the toilet. It was really rough.
I've done that one too. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, there's something about the Zen Cleanse one that I guess it's the enzymes or something that break down. It's like they're breaking down biofilms and different things that don't get flushed out with just a regular intestinal flush, right? And it's just, yeah, like I said, like alien babies left me.
I still haven't done a castor oil pack. Do you do those yourself?
I do them sometimes. Yeah, they're very gentle. It's not, you know, something that and I'm not like super duper sensitive to a lot of things. So it's not something that I feel a huge benefit from, but I do feel like a very mild benefit from them when I do them. And I think, you know, maybe if I were more consistent, then that would be great. I had a sty, and it actually just came back slightly, but I had a sty for over a year on my eye, and the only thing that got rid of it was castor oil. I was putting castor oil on my eye for multiple times a day for like a month, and then it finally went away. So
Wow.
there's something to castor oil with it sort of helping to either move lymph or, yeah, I haven't pinpointed the exact reason why it's good, but I liked it.
Interesting. Do you want to jump into some of the questions, Adam?
Yeah, why not? Actually, you know what?
Yeah,
you asked me about BCAAs before, so I just wanted to talk about that for just a quick second.
Yeah, let's do it.
Back into the aminos. So BCAAs are leucine, isoleucine, and valine, and the three of them. So those are obviously huge in like the bodybuilding world, gym, workout stuff. Like every gym guy knows about BCAAs, and I think it's because those are 35 to 40% of all the amino acids in the body, and 15% of those are found in muscle. And so basically the BCAAs, when you take them, are broken down mostly by the muscle, whereas the other ones are broken down in your liver, with your liver. And so this is why I think the hypothesis that they're great for working out and recovery and stuff and rebuilding muscle is that they basically go straight to muscle, and a lot of them are used as protein in the muscle. But another interesting thing about BCAAs, and this actually is in relation to my product Tyrosine, is that a lot of the people use BCAAs and they mix it with tyrosine and phenylanine, because the BCAAs compete with the aromatic amino acids, the three we talked about earlier, for their uptake into the brain. So you can basically, as tryptophan is one of them, you can take BCAAs and outcompete tryptophan in its uptake in the brain. And then you can also take tyrosine and phenylalanine to make sure that you're not harming dopamine, because you are competing the uptake of those two as well. So you basically take the BCAAs and tyrosine and phenylalanine, and you can effectively lower serotonin in the brain by outcompeting tryptophan, and using tyrosine as sort of something that helps you keep the precursors to dopamine in there as well. And then a bit of vitamin B6 as well would help you, because if that's involved in the enzyme which synthesizes dopamine from tyrosine. So yeah, you can kind of use that as kind of like a way to, I don't know, lower serotonin, or people get, I talk to people sometimes that are really, really sensitive to serotonin, like anything that marginally raises serotonin or things with tryptophan in them. So that could be a solution for them to help out with that. Some people take like a drop of blue and get like severe headaches and get all dizzy and weird and stuff. And I think there could be something there for them. And the BCAAs also reduce the absorption of cysteine and methionine. So those are, been in the peak community. Those are seen as two of the inflammatory amino acids. And obviously they're essential, but it's about the amounts, right? So if you're eating tons of muscle meat, then that might be helpful as well.
Wow. That's pretty fascinating. Do you remember the almond raw protocol, Adam, from So I did that, and I should have mentioned this near the beginning, but I was doing their protein shake, or his protein shake, the almond elixir or whatever, and it was like bulk supplements. It was a nightmare to make it, because I just had the scale once a month, and I blended these powders together, like specific amount of grams per serving. And it seemed to get me results. I was deadlifting a lot, and I bulked up, and that was just on a vegan, bean and soy diet for the most part, with some bee products and teas and like zero carb, for 23 hours a day. But I think mentally and emotionally, I was starting to not feel the best. So I wonder if it's because of what you were just talking about with the BCAAs reducing the absorption or out-competing these amino acids that are necessary for brain health.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, when you're getting into supplementing them in big amounts and stuff, just these few nuances are really helpful to know, because you can be taking BCAAs, and a lot of gym guys do this, and they're like, man, why do I feel like tired all the time? And, I just feel less motivated and stuff. And it's that they're outcompeting tryptophan, but also the tyrosine phenylalanine component there. So they're likely having a dopamine lowering effect.
Weren't there bodybuilders that committed suicide too, like YouTube stars, like that ZYZ guy or whatever?
Wow, no, I don't know who that is.
Okay, yeah, I know that was a thing where bodybuilders just dying young in general.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be over exercising, but maybe there was a brain component there too.
Yeah, definitely a less sustainable lifestyle overall.
Right. Pretty interesting stuff. So do you think that essential amino acids are better than BCAAs? Because that's usually what a lot of people say, and that was my belief for a while. What are your thoughts on?
Yeah, I don't see that they're sort of better or worse. I mean, obviously, these are just sort of like classifications, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're just talking about supplementing with a group of amino acids. One is a group of 3, and the other one is a group of 8 to 11, whichever is the challenge that the actual essential ones are. But I see the value in BCAAs. I see that, you probably shouldn't take them without tyrosine and phenylalanine. So, as a standalone product, I would say maybe don't dive into BCAAs on their own. And I like essential amino acids as well, because all of those are beneficial. They're all going to be great to take. It's not, I don't see them as good or bad. I think it's important to take them, and you're gonna be getting some tryptophan. So you have to gauge whether or not that's working for you. Are you gonna maybe be feeling an increase in serotonin, and you're gonna be getting phenylalanine though? So it's really, I would suggest a person learn like these nuances, learn about amino acids, learn about what each of them do, and the different amounts in food and what they're consuming in their own food, in their diet. You can figure all that out. And then when you're starting to supplement, you can then gauge your body's reaction or response and decide if that's serving you or not. And I think this should kind of be done with any supplement, but with the amino acids, it's fairly easy to figure out. So that's, freedom for you.
Yeah, especially like someone like myself with a history of vegetarianism or veganism. I think that might be partly why I feel taurine so much.
Yeah,
because I wasn't getting that for decades.
Absolutely. Yeah. Taurine, glycine, huge benefits from these. So I think that's also why vegans and vegetarians can eventually run into liver issues and thyroid issues, because they just are having like a constant lack of taurine and stuff in their diet.
And tyrosine, right? Potentially.
My God.
Awesome. Was there anything else you wanted to chat about before we jump into some of the questions?
We're good. I mean, yeah. No, I think we're good. We covered quite a bit.
We can
circle up the place. Yeah.
Yeah, we could circle back on a few
Sure.
a few points, I'm sure. Could these aminos help to support damage from benzodiazepines and withdrawal?
You know what? I haven't looked into the detriments of benzos. I don't study like prescription drugs a lot just because it's not a world that I'm involved in at all. I don't even typically talk to people that do a lot of them or have done a lot of them. So just being in natural health for so long, I'm kind of removed from that stuff. So I don't know if they do have a significant effect on dopamine or deterioration on dopamine synthesis, production, etc., then I would say definitely try Tyrosine to see if that has helped you. Having said that, most prescription drugs have a serious damaging effect on the liver, and so you're likely going to see a benefit from taking taurine, from supporting your liver, and to help you detoxify from, basically taking the prescription drugs, which are often damaging to the liver, could be stored in bile, stored as toxin for you to excrete. So try that.
Yeah, imagine this current generation that ate Tide Pods, right? They're gonna need a lot of liver flushes.
Tide Pods, took antibiotics every time they were sick, Tylenol every time they had a headache. You name it, right? Wash their hands every time with,
Purell.
Yeah, Purell.
What are his thoughts on taurine timing with alcohol? Some say to avoid combining.
I haven't heard that perspective, so I would suggest that you take everything that I said and then also take in that information and try to navigate that as best you can, because I haven't heard that perspective.
Would you stack any of these with creatine?
Yeah, I love creatine. And I hadn't tried it or like had huge experiments with it until 6-8 months ago, and I noticed that cycling it and using it around workouts and stuff really helped with my performance. And I'm a big fan of creatine, and I think creatine has benefits beyond just muscle and gym stuff. I think that I've seen evidence to support that creatine is kind of almost like a nootropic, a mood enhancer, and I'm a big fan. So yeah, I would definitely stack with creatine, and a Lifeblud creatine may not be on the way.
Awesome. Yeah, there's kind of a stack that I use. I mean, hopefully I'm not going to move anytime soon. I won't. But the recent 2-day journey, I kind of survived on amino acids, your energy, B vitamin complex, my vitamin C ascorbic acid, and what was it, exogenous ketones. And it's basically it. And I was just running on that for a couple days with barely any food, and I felt incredible. So I was kind of getting the foundational stuff, aminos, C, B, some ketones just for a little stimulation hit.
Supporting structure there. And, that's the beauty of the body is like what we do, let's say 90% of the time is what's going to support us throughout our entire lives. And the 10% of the time when we can't do all these, we can't support our health all the time. We can't be finding amazing food to eat, and we won't have every supplement that we need on hand. So I think that it's important to just sort of establish those good habits and establish like that health foundation for you to be able to have a day where you don't have access to food, or you can't treat yourself so amazingly. But if you've built up that resilience, then you'll be in a much better place than those who haven't.
Yeah, absolutely. Do any of your aminos help with ADHD?
Yeah, that's definitely Tyrosine. I would 100% try Tyrosine there. If there's basically a dopamine dysfunction, which I think is definitely to be related to ADHD. Allowing the proper, or trying to further the synthesis of dopamine through giving the pathway its building blocks, or more of the building blocks. I think that'll be helpful a lot. And on my product page, I kind of wrote about that a little bit. I think the lack of dopamine synthesis might be why there's such an issue with memory and attentiveness and stuff. There's always the body's seeking, right? It's like seeking for the more dopamine, and it's not getting it. And you're not getting rewarded by things properly. So I think helping with the whole synthesis pathway will help you get rewarded by stuff. And then you're not going to be constantly jumping from one thing to the next, right?
Absolutely. Let's see. Any tips if aminos seem to cause headaches, anxiety, irritability? We had a couple people ask that question, and I don't know if they're talking about isolated individual aminos or BCAAs or essential. So however you want to answer that, if someone's getting symptoms from taking amino acids in general.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty non-specific. So which ones, if you could figure out which ones they are, then think about the serotonin thing I was talking about earlier. Think about, are you taking BCAAs? Think about outcompeting tryptophan, but also getting tyrosine and phenylanine. If you're taking something with tryptophan in it, is that causing you a headache? I think you should try to dial in those few variables if you can, and then go from there.
Awesome. The off-topic question: how easy was it for him to move to Mexico?
I don't know. Yeah, easy is a pretty relative term. I don't know what your version of easy is. It was an easy decision, that's for sure. Because I was moving out of Canada in a pretty rough time and place, and it's not that difficult to say goodbye to Canada. I'm not here 100% of the year, so maybe you could consider that I haven't fully moved here, but Mexico's great. I love it here. I love that we have a lot more freedom in comparison to Canada. It's kind of like you can do whatever you want, and if you suffer the consequences, that's on you. I like that. But they also have a really strong cultural pride, and they're nationalistic, and they really have awesome culture, and they're family oriented, and just a lot of values that are lost in sort of the modern West. So I'm a big fan of those.
I'm surprised you're not like a lobster. I mean, maybe you've gotten sunburned a few times, but you look tan. But
yeah,
you're a fellow Italian, but I guess from the southern portion, where I'm more from the northern.
Mm-hmm.
I would get roasted like bread if I went there, I think.
Yeah, I have like deep southern Italian blood, like Sicilian and Calabria, which are like basically the very bottom of Italy. Northerners call us North Africans. So I don't really burn. But I also, I guess I could at this time in the summer as well. It's super duper hot, but I'm not out in the sun like a ton cooking. I like to get a bit of sun every day. And I love sunlight. I like getting it, but I'm not gonna, even like 20 minutes right now in a row is a lot. And I definitely take extra vitamin E, and that helps a lot. It's like significant, noticeable difference. And, I'm just not extreme about stuff. Like, I like the sun, but I'm not bathing in it. In the winter, it's a lot easier because it's kind of like 25, 27 degrees Celsius, 18 at night. And it's really not, the sun is not that strong. But at this time of year, yeah, I'm not spending tons of time outside, or not outside, but direct sunlight.
Yeah, vitamin E is huge. And I find vitamin C too for being out in the sun helps.
Yeah, I like vitamin C as well, and I like, we have tons of fresh fruit here as well. Everything always in season, so I'm consuming tons of limes, mango season right now, pineapples, consuming tons of that stuff. But yeah, it's also about knowing who you are, right? Like I can probably stay in the sun a lot more than, the guy from Colorado that's, a block away from me. It's like, it's just about knowing where you're at and who you are. And again, not trying to apply one rule to everyone. I think it's so important as we navigate like the information overload of the health world.
Absolutely. Maybe this could be the last question.
Yeah.
When's the best time to take the individual amino acids? Like I know you had mentioned the competition with BCAAs. So would you say take them away from food generally, or?
I would say try Tyrosine right in the morning. And then if you want to take another dose, try it again like early afternoon, and just gauge your effect there. I like taking theanine with my coffee if I have coffee. And taurine, I haven't found a specific time that is better or worse to take, but I take most of my supplements throughout the day, so morning and early afternoon. Having said that, I have tried it sometimes at night just to, for its GABA supporting effects, because it does actually help calm the nervous system. And I've had some pretty good sleeps on that as well. So, take in the information and then try a few different methods, but just starting with what I've said there, and see if you can have a better or worse effect just from changing the timing. So I'm noticing my power's flickering, but
that's all for today's show. I thought that part about taurine being essential for making bile salts was fascinating. I think a lot of people are not only deficient in the 4 fat-soluble vitamins, but they're not even able to absorb and uptake them. And I witnessed this both personally and with people close to me back in my vegan and vegetarian days. And I saw that manifest as all sorts of physical, psychological, and emotional issues by not getting the benefits of those essential vitamins A, D, E, and K2, which have so many functions. People often think about the immune system and skin benefits, but what about mitochondria? You actually need vitamin K2 to have healthy, fully functioning, optimal mitochondria. And that really applies to all the vitamins, not just the fat-soluble ones. You need the water-soluble ones for healthy mitochondria as well as all of the minerals, both the macro and the micro or trace minerals. If you're ever feeling down or your mood's a little off, I recommend trying Adam's Tyrosine product. I take 4 at a time and then go for a walk outside and get full spectrum sunlight in my eyes. And I find that makes a huge difference in my mood for the rest of the day. I just feel a lot lighter and happier. So you can find his products at lifeblud.co, and the discount code Blackburn will save you on all of his products. I really like combining the Mitolife vitamin C with polyphenols with his energy B vitamin complex. That's a really powerful synergy to use throughout the day, because remember, these vitamins are water soluble, all the B vitamins and ascorbic acid. So you have to take them consistently and in small, frequent doses throughout the day. And I've moved several times throughout the years. Some of you guys know, just bounced around to different states. And on long 2-day road trips, I've used vitamin C throughout the day, getting up to 10 to 15 grams. And then his energy product throughout the day, sometimes 2 to 4 at a time, about every hour. And I found that made a huge difference in how I felt at the end of the day. When I reached the hotel, I wasn't as exhausted. I actually felt like I could just keep driving through the night. And of course, I was stacking that with essential amino acids. I was using tablet form and exogenous ketones from HVMN. So that was kind of my 4-product stack that helped me practice this long intermittent fasting while driving a super long distance. My website is matt-blackburn.com. You could read my CLF protocol up top. I update that about once a year. And then the featured products are there on the front page, which are the products that I use myself and recommend. And I wanted to highlight Blue Shield. They actually just released, as of today, their most powerful home unit. It's called the Evo Cube. On the product page, Brandon wrote that it doesn't make the Phi series or the Ultimate series, the old units, obsolete. It just has more of an emphasis on supporting sleep and neurocognitive function because of the new algorithm that's built into it. I haven't used it yet. I have one on the way. I'm really excited because I'm really sensitive to his products. When I first plugged in my first cube about 6 years ago or so, I actually felt sick for a few days, like I was getting the flu, and then it just passed. So that was a really interesting effect because before then I was using the mobile unit and I wasn't noticing too much using it at home. But as soon as I plugged in that home unit and slept with it and had it on 24/7, being in that field, that's when I got the effect. And actually, on my birthday last year in September, I plugged in the triangular Phi series unit and I was stacking that with the cube and actually had some digestive disturbance, had to go to the bathroom, almost like a flush effect from combining both units. So it's interesting that some people think these products are just gimmicky and they're not doing anything. But I've had friends tell me someone plugged it in, another family member, and they didn't know, and they started to experience pretty extreme symptoms. And when they asked their family members or roommates or whoever it was if they changed anything, they said, "Oh yeah, I plugged in this unit." They're pretty powerful, and Brandon's actually done some animal studies with this Blue Shield technology, and placebo doesn't apply to animals. I actually just plugged in that triangular Phi series in my old milking shed where we have our 20 raspberry plants that we recently planted, so that they're in that field. Even though I don't have neighbors super close by, I'm just aware of satellites and who knows what that they're still beaming down. I mean, I still get cell service here at the house, even without Wi-Fi. So there's some signals going on. So I'm curious to see if that boosts the health of our raspberry plants. So if you want to upgrade or try that new unit, head over to Blue Shield without an E-US.com and use the discount code Blackburn. My brand is Mitolife. You can find that at mitolife.co. We sell grounding or earthing sheets. Our 7-stage water filter is about to be back in stock. I keep trying to give a date, but there's just delay after delay. So the latest update is early September. But as always, keep an eye out on the social media, especially the Mitolife social media, and we'll announce it as soon as it's available. Also, be sure that you're subscribed to the Mitolife newsletter. That's at the bottom of the site. You'll see where it says be the first to know about new releases and exclusive offers. So just punch in your email there. We don't send out emails every day like some companies do. I find that really annoying, and I usually unsubscribe. So be sure to subscribe to that so that you stay up to date on new product releases and cool stuff that we're doing. Also, check out the Mitolife Academy on YouTube. You get 2 private videos every month of my latest research and experiments or little protocols that I like, and then a live Q&A the last day of every month. So that's a wrap. I'll see you guys next Friday. Stay supercharged.